それではお時間となりましたので、これよりBG2C Co-Chair対談、みんなのブロックチェーンへの道を行ってまいります。はじめにパネリストの皆様ご紹介させていただきます。アイルランド財務省ファイナンシャルアドバイザリー部門長マイ・サンタマリア様。続きまして、ジョージタウン大学研究教授松尾慎一郎様です。大きな拍手をお願いいたします。松尾様、よろしくお願いいたします。そして最後にモデレーターを務めるのは日本経済新聞社編集委員小柳武彦です。小柳さん、よろしくお願いいたします。はい、ではここからは小柳様に司会進行をお願いしたいと思います。
皆様こんばんは。お忙しいところお聞きにいらっしゃっていただきまして誠にありがとうございます。といっても会場にはほとんど、数人しかいませんけれども、ネット上にはたくさんの方が、お聞きになっていることと思います。このセッションが一応この2日間にわたるイベントの鳥のセッションだというふうに聞いておりますが、何がしかですね、皆さんテイクアウェイを提供できるようなセッションにしていけたらなというふうに思います。これはマリアさんは英語で聞けてるのかな？ Hi Maria.
Hello.
Hi. Do you have an English translation of what I said?
It's okay. I understood some words.
Okay. All right. Because we only have 40 minutes.
So, that's okay. That's okay. No.
Okay. ということでここからはちょっと英語で、やりたいと思います。So, this session actually didn't have any title in the first place. It just was titled as a BGIN Co-Chair Fireside Chat. But we came up with a title yesterday. In English, it's called Everybody Aboard the Blockchain. That's an English title, and we discussed how to translate it into Japanese, and we decided that みんなのブロックチェーンへの道がいいのではないかと。That was our conclusion. So Japanese translation literally means it's a road to everyone's blockchain.
Very good.
That sound good?
I like that.
Okay. All right. So this session is basically to introduce the audience to global movement or initiative to embrace the blockchain technology and come up with certain framework to enable everyone in the world to utilize this technology usefully. That's probably the basic idea of this initiative. And I'm going to ask many questions to distinguished panelists tonight for explanation of what they're up to and what they're going to do with this initiative. And the first, I'd like to invite each of our panelists to just self-introduce themselves and then tell us a story how they came to connect themselves to the blockchain technology in the first place, and then ended up being involved in this initiative of BGIN. BGIN is Blockchain Governance Initiative Network. That's the official title of this one. So abbreviation is BGIN, BGIN. So first I'd like to invite Mai first. Why don't you tell us a story of your blockchain and involvement in the BGIN? Mai, please.
Thank you, Ken-san. And maybe I should start by saying minasan konbanwa, although it's morning here in Dublin. Can you all hear me okay?
Perfect.
Fantastic. So maybe I'll start by saying I was very lucky to be invited by the Japan Financial Services Authority to join a crypto asset roundtable in Tokyo now almost 2 years ago through the Irish government's agency, Enterprise Ireland, who've been working in Tokyo for almost 20 years. and they've built a relationship with the GFSA. The roundtable was a great idea by the GFSA to bring different stakeholders working with blockchain and crypto assets. And 2 years is a long time when we talk about blockchain, because even back then we were discussing simple things like what were we going to call things, like was it crypto asset or virtual currencies or something else. The idea was to bring together engineers from the community. They brought in some researchers. We had people there from several universities, both in Japan, Asia, and as far as the US and the UK. And it was an eye-opener for me, who'd been working in and looking at blockchain through the lens of a policymaker for about a year and a half, quite little at that stage. It was fascinating to see the engineers trying to explain concepts from a technology point of view to the policymakers and regulators like us in the room. It was a really good couple of days. It was a great way also of cementing relationships when you meet people face to face, and you actually understand, or you really get to see how your knowledge can bring the barriers to the lack of understanding of the person sitting across the table from you. So it was back 2 years ago. That's when I met Shinichiro-san here, sitting next to you, Ken-san, and some of the experts in the GFSA team. So that was the start of a beginning in terms, and there's no pun on the word begin, but we've, over the last couple of years, and we've met a couple of times already with Shinichiro-san, and he had this idea of trying to literally, how do we bring a similar experience that we happen at the genesis of the internet to blockchain. And and here we are today. He suggested that we try to do a similar thing in Ireland, which we did through Blockchain Ireland back in November. It was like a mini session from like that workshop we had in Tokyo, and just like it happened in Tokyo back in 2018, a lot of understanding, a lot of a really willingness to see the other side. Not in a bad or good way, but finding a common tongue to see how using that technology, it can be seen from different angles.
Were you from a technology background in the first place, and were you working in the internet space before working for blockchain, or is it just a kind of coincidence or happening?
Ken-san, thank you. It's a fantastic question. I'm not a technologist. I would love to have been a technologist. I would have loved to be an engineer, but different times, different ages. I would probably consider myself a technology tourist. I have an affinity. I like it. I tinker with it. I am not a coder. Certainly, I'm not a developer. I'm not an engineer of any sorts. However, maybe because of my personal curiosity with it, but particularly how it has impacted my life and my work at a personal level, I've always been interested in it. So maybe just a couple of examples. I'm talking now about maybe 15 years ago. I happened to be, at the time I was working with Barclays Bank. My background actually is finance. I spent over 20 years in financial services sector working with banking and insurance companies. So 14 years ago, I happened to find myself in a Barclays Bank branch in Nairobi in Kenya. And I could see how we could check someone's bank balance in the Nokia 3310 phones, if you ever remember those. Maybe you're not as old as I am. But it was a moment of, here is something that can be done with technology that can really improve the lives of this person sitting next to me here. And ever since we've always had, I personally have had an interest in see how technology can actually change but improve the citizen's experience and its surroundings. So I do spend a lot of time, when I can, trying to understand the technology with it. That's why I'm absolutely fascinated, and I have a lot of respect for developers and engineers who work in it, because they know a lot. Sometimes it's very easy for them to just live in this world where they know what they work with on a day-to-day basis. So how could I possibly help them to get out of that and speak to the non-techs like us? Because sometimes this is needed to inform good policies, and most important, to inform regulation that is not going to end up killing or stifling or being an obstacle to that technology development that they're trying to work in.
Okay. Well, let's come back to that point later. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Shinichiro Matsuo for just the same kind of self-introduction toward about his road to his current status, which is he's doing many things about on initiating this, formulating consortium and promoting discussions on how we should utilize and blockchain technology today. So could you please, Mr. Matsuo?
Thank you for your introduction. So I'm Shinichiro Matsuo. I'm research professor at Georgetown University for blockchain research. But my background is cryptography and its application to society. And so I have a long history of the research related to the blockchain technology. So this is the late 1998 or 9. So I was involved in the project by Bank of Japan and NTT to produce something like that CBDC in that years. And after that, so I was involved in the project of cryptographic timestamping. So this is an important building block of current blockchain technology. Then so I was engaged in many projects on the application of the cryptography to society. And so of course the Satoshi's paper published in 2008 is important for me. But the time when I was deeply involved in that blockchain research is 2014. And this is after that Mt. Gox hack was happened in Japan. And in 2015, so this is an important year. And the one is Bitcoin Foundation failed. And so the other thing is in New York State. So new regulation was fixed in the New York State for the bit license. And this is an important starting point to discuss about how regulators should talk with engineers. The other thing is in 2015, so there's a huge debate on the block size of Bitcoin. So of course that this is a technology issue, but so source of that debate is coming from the financial incentives of miners. So we need to have that neutral technology discussion at that time without any financial incentives or financial debate. And at that time, so Pinda Wong, he's one of the initial contributors to BGIN. And I started a series of workshops called Scaling Bitcoin. This series of workshops is backed by neutral academia to discuss about the truly technology issue. So this is a source of, this is a starting point. So two stakeholders talk one issues on the scalability of the technology. And after that, so in 2016, we have that many ICO and scams, and we have another things in 2017. So the importance of discussion among stakeholders becomes so important. And in 2016, I and Pindawon discussed about that how academia can support that Bitcoin core engineers or blockchain engineers. At that time, so I and Pindawon so initiated the academic network called bsafe.network. This is a global scale test bed by 31 universities, and so many experiment over that bsafe.network can help the healthy academic discussion for the Bitcoin engineers. And so this is a hidden story, but so I had a meeting with Pindawon on March 4th, 2016, that's to initiate that bsafe.network. But this is so for example that so 3 or 4 years after initiating bsafe.network, so we would like to change this place to that, so something like that IETF, like the organization, to discuss about the technology, so neutral technology discussion. So this is my history to initiate that, so BGIN or that kind of multi-stakeholder discussion place.
So before joining Georgetown in Washington, D.C., were you based in a Japanese university or something? Or?
Yeah, so I moved to United States in 2015.
Okay.
Before that, so I was with NICT. This is Japanese National Institute for the Telecommunication Research, and at that time, so I was engaged in the information security research. But unfortunately, so National Institute in Japan do not allow to do the research on the Bitcoin. And at that time,
really?
Yeah. Why? And so at that time, so my friends so asked me to jump in that Bitcoin research, and this is one of the reasons why so I moved to the United States.
That tells many things. Okay, let's move on to the BGIN itself. Is it fair to say, Matsuo-san, that you are the person who started saying we need something, we need some framework or discussion platform to think about blockchain? Is it fair to say so?
Yeah. So
Yes.
Okay.
yeah. But so the reason why I was thinking to create IETF-like organization for the blockchain is so in the case of the internet, so I heard many stories about that, the genesis age of the internet. At that time, that so the internet technologies for the quite small number of the groups that they didn't so care about that so security or privacy issues of the internet. But so this is a source of current chaos regarding that privacy and identity and cyber security for the internet. But so in the case of Bitcoin and blockchain, so from the beginning, so Bitcoin is a money, and so there are many financial incentives inside that ecosystem, and so we need to have that some organization to have that good harmonization among stakeholders, and so I think that this is the reason why so we need to have that kind of organization from the early stage of this blockchain ecosystem.
And you first talked to someone specific, or did you just send out some mailing list messages that don't we think that we need something like this? Or how did it start out?
Yeah, so the community who initiated the scaling Bitcoin workshop. So Pindawon is a internet pioneer. So he was the important person in the ICANN, so early stage of ICANN, and so the discussion with Pindawon makes me that to create that kind of things. So the other important the other person, so who he's also that initial contributor to BGIN, so he is an internet pioneer in Ghana, and so. But so many internet pioneers so giving me a good opinion to initiate that so truly global space for blockchain ecosystem.
So mainly you first talk to academia people, or
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes. So you know so scaling debate for the Bitcoin is a true so caused by that financial things, but so at that time so Satoshi's paper is not peer reviewed, and so many so development of the Bitcoin technology is organized by that so developers, but so we need to have that good academic discussion from cryptography, computer science, and economics point of view. And so this is the reason why we formed a group of universities, 31 universities from all over the world. And I think academic discussion could help a blockchain ecosystem from a neutrality point of view.
And that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah. This is in 2016.
16. Okay.
So this is
Almost 3 years ago.
So when I initiated that, so BeSafe.network, this is a group of universities.
And how did Mai get connected to this initiative? I mean, do you remember when and where you talked to, or you were talked by Matsuo-san about this idea of having this kind of consortium or a discussion platform?
Yeah, sure. I do remember. So we did meet at the very first crypto asset roundtable in Tokyo. He mentioned the initiative of the BeSafe network. At the time, through that workshop, we stayed in touch. I think we definitely met again at the second workshop, and he suggested reaching out to some of the universities here in Ireland, which is something that I was able to do through the Blockchain Ireland initiative that we have ongoing in Ireland. I had presented myself in terms of the work that I do, not only for the Department of Finance, but also to help strengthen the blockchain community in Ireland, being part of Blockchain Ireland, where we used to meet on a monthly basis to discuss different topics, and I connected Matsuda-san to a few of the universities here who were definitely interesting at the time with BeSafe network, but obviously then we've moved on since then. I don't remember though the moment exactly where he volunteered me to co-chair and all the work that goes with it, but you know, it's the last years since we had the very first BGIN proper contributors kickoff meeting. Everyone who has willingly engaged. It's fascinating to meet. Obviously, they're academics. Some of them are technologists. For me, it's just I'm sitting back and I'm watching for the people who are so knowledgeable in what they do, and I try to learn from that so I can bring it to my own world of the policy making and the regulator engaging and see how much it can do. So yeah, I think maybe correct me if I'm wrong. I do remember being volunteered very nicely to join this, and I couldn't say no, quite frankly, because it's one, I think it's needed, and two, in my experience to date, it has worked. There's just learnings to happen on both sides when you meet different stakeholders around the table to discuss a topic like blockchain.
Okay. Let's move on to the BGIN itself. So, what is it meant to be? What is it meant to do? What is it meant to make? Is it going to make protocols like TCP/IP or HTML5, etc., in the world of internet, for example, or is it going to make some kind of multilateral agreements, something like treaties? What is the concrete ideas that that this consortium is aiming at?
Okay, so I will answer the first, but so please add your words so if needed.
Yeah.
So firstly, so the main outcomes from BGIN is a document, series of document. So this is include that, so technology document, like also ITF RFCs, or so operational document. For example, so we are now discussing to create that document for custody. So key management life cycle for centralized custody and key life cycle management for decentralized custody. So, and so, for example, identity is a different problem for how we manage that decentralized identity by using blockchain or something. So this is the first and current main issue. But so we would like to create some document for key management. This is backed by the knowledge of engineers, backed by knowledge of academia. Of course, that so key management is an important part for regulators to chase the bad guys. And yeah, so the true value of that outcomes of BGIN is also all document is backed by all stakeholders. So if that only developer create that document, so that document write about the only technology, but so anyone can polish that document by utilizing that knowledge by economist knowledge by government or something. But anyway, so this is a document backed by all stakeholders.
Will it become something like standards? Something like, I don't know, 5G or whatever, these communications international standards that need all stakeholders' agreement? Or is it going to be kind of guideline, or is it going to be, I don't know, what would those documents do?
Yeah, it is quite so difficult question to answer. But so I hope that some of document could be treated as a standard. But so some document could be treated as some guideline or something, or best practices, because that so regulation is different for each country or each nation. So, but so by creating that kind of document, we can have that common understanding of something. So if that, so each nation or each organization need to adjust to their own situation. So it could be that some kind of guideline, but anyway, so some document could be that so standard, some document could be that guideline or best practices.
So are you guys trying to define some terms? I mean, for example, what does ID mean in this technology platform, for example? I mean, is that kind of things you're trying to make in your documents? Is that a correct understanding?
Yeah, I think that this is an important part, because that so if that people's understanding in that one word is different, so we cannot so communicate each other. But so what do you think, Mai?
Yeah, well, I think the question is a good question, but I suppose my answer would have been what we're trying to do with BGIN, or maybe it's more the answer is what we're not trying to do, because we're aware of the frameworks and initiatives already out there. So to your question on standards, for example, we have TC307. Obviously, we're already looking at standards, we're looking at technology standards. Some of them actually might be around some of the topics. Some of them are not. Then we have other initiatives that actually might be looking at very specific things. I mean, some of the, like someone like the Ethereum Foundation, obviously is going to be looking at just whatever it's needed for Ethereum. We're not trying to do or to be exactly what's already out there, but actually find those areas where there have been or it really needs the engineer community to interact, but that might not be comfortable or might prefer to have an interaction in a way that's more suitable to that community. So if it's not been attending, a forum, and it's not sitting down to actually have discussions, but maybe having an ad hoc interaction online through GitHub at a time that's suitable with, having input into a particular project or a particular report. Let's just do it this way. It's not a way of working that maybe actually fits a normal organization as it currently stands, but still valuable, and it still needed. So the technical standards, if there's something that we can do, I mean, we, in terms of anyone who actually is willing to provide his expertise to begin and join in one of the working groups and talk about them, certainly we will welcome it, and then we'll just find, as in collectively, if it's a whole, or it's a particular area that hasn't been looked at by any other standard settings or any other organization, we'll put it forward. That's the intention of it.
Okay. One thing I was kind of interested in is, why does this initiative have a name including governance? Governance is a very tricky word, and there have been many oppositions towards internet governance, for example, for the past 20, 30 years. And Bitcoin and blockchain technology is even more liberty-oriented or even anarchist, according to some persons. And what made you think that this name, including governance, is good to convince every stakeholder to join this initiative? Because some people would be kind of alarmed by this wording. So do you have an answer?
I don't have an answer, but I'd say to you, it's a great question, because I do remember an almost, I think, maybe 2-hour session where, with some of the initial contributors, we talked about exactly this point. You know, just the word governance would probably make a lot of Bitcoiners and Bitcoin developers out there break into a rash. Okay, and so yeah, I totally understand that. I actually might defer to Matsuru-san there, but we liked the name BGIN, BGIN, because we felt maybe if you didn't like the word governance, you could turn G to Blockchain Global International Network, and then you got away from that in a nice, elegant way. I think the interest clearly is, what we're trying to say is something that it's global in a structured way, in a consensual way, and maybe that's where the word governance is supposed to translate into where we've come to this point where we've all contributed into, and we're comfortable with what we get out of it. So maybe governance is more, I wouldn't say approved, but agreed upon and discussed together kind of way. What are your thoughts? Matsuru-san?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, as Mai said, so currently, there is a discussion. So if that governance is appropriate for our activities, but so I don't have any answer for that. This is up to the discussion from grassroots. So which is a good name for our initiative, but so. I think we need to rethink that. So the meaning of governance for blockchain. So for the Bitcoin blockchain, for example, that mathematics inside that code base of Bitcoin is a constitution of that Bitcoin nation. So this is a code and constitution. But the main issue for Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other permissionless blockchain is we don't have any procedure to make amendment of this constitution. But so if we think that the permissionless blockchain or blockchain technology is for society, for people, so we need to decide to amend that constitution. So this is a point. So if we would like to apply the blockchain technology for society, to help people. So this is one important point. We need to think about how we involve other stakeholders to decide that constitution.
Okay. Actually, we only have 5 minutes left, so I have to wrap up in any way. So the first, I'd like to invite each of you to describe how this initiative benefit various stakeholders, including regulators, actually, and how those benefits would lead to social changes or social benefits that all of us can benefit from. 2 minutes each. First, Mike.
Yes. So I think the most tangible benefit is mutual understanding. And with this means understanding of the technology and what it can do and what it cannot do, so that policies and regulations are actually fit for purpose and taking into account that technology and not the fear of it. That's, to me, the best benefit. That means that by having that out there in a society, developments in business using that technology can actually move forward, and that's benefiting you and me and every other citizen. So it's hard to understand, but we might speak the same language, but it might mean different things to whoever's sitting on either side of the table. And that's, to me, that mutual understanding is benefit number one.
Okay, Matsuo-san.
And yeah, that's another important question. And I think that this question is somehow related to that. So what Taro Aso, he's a Deputy Prime Minister of Japan, so talked yesterday. So he talked that so some engineers think that regulators is an enemy, but so he asked all engineers to collaborate together. So this is an important message. So this is I think that this is related to that. So how we convince the blockchain technology help society. So at that time, so we don't have such kind of trust for that technology. But so this is related to the Japanese kotowaza. So this is a Japanese saying that is 3本の矢. So if that only engineer, this is in English, this is a 3 pillar of stability. So if that only engineers talk about that goodness of the technology, but it's not enough to convince people how the blockchain technology helps society. But so if we have the 3 backgrounds, for example, engineers, business side, and government, so we can convince people to help people by using blockchain technology. So this is like the 3本の矢 or is a 3 pillar of the stability. So by using this kind of multi-stakeholder discussion, so we have the strong reason strong justification to convince people why that blockchain technology help our lives.
Okay. Additional question related to this is this is one thing I'm really curious. Financial regulator, central bank, and Ministry of Finance, all those guys are really afraid of letting blockchain technology utilized by criminals. So naturally, they might demand your consortium to come up with some idea to mandate a backdoor entry methodology or to decrypt something. And would that be involved in your discussion in going forward?
Okay, I will answer that. So I don't think creating a backdoor is a good solution for this problem, but it's up to the discussion by all stakeholders, because that so there are many company already to provide some solution for the tracing bad guys. So creating backdoor is not a good idea. I don't think that engineer agree with this idea, but so we have that we can have a better solution coming from that engineers or other guys.
What do you think, my son?
Yes, I think it's not an answer I have in the last minute of the session.
Sorry.
I definitely, it's all right, but it's a great question. I don't think, and we should be very careful as well that this humble initiative doesn't become too big, or we overpromise things that we certainly cannot deliver. I would agree with Matsuru-san in terms of back doors or not, or even discussing about this. That's not the way forward. The way forward is probably is understanding, and for regulators and crime enforcement to understand the technology in terms of what it can and cannot do, and how you can store it, how you can trade it. Not about finding a way to the back door. Criminals will always find a way. Mobile phones and laptops are also used for crime, and we're not asking, or there isn't a demand globally to crack down on the use of mobile phones and laptops. So that's the reality of it, okay? And the reality of as well is just in my very, very limited technology knowledge, anything that you do online does leave a technology trail. And at the end of the day, if you really want to do and hide away, cash is king, right? Even though it takes a lot of space and you can't put it on a USB stick. So I think the reality is we want to do the right thing, and increased understanding will be decreasing the risk, I suppose, of what can be done online for the not so good actors.
So I often say that JFSA or regulators, why not organize full node or Bitcoin? Yeah, so Bitcoin is Bitcoin is a permissionless technology. So Bitcoin core engineers cannot deny that operating that full node by regulators. But so this is a good first step to have a common understanding between the regulators and engineers.
Okay, we just run out of time, and I hope you guys could somehow come up with a very good idea to cope with this potential problem or weak point of this very capable technology in the future. With that note, I'd like to conclude this session, and thank you for joining us. And please join me thanking our distinguished panelists for sharing a lot of insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You've been wonderful.
どうもありがとうございました。ご登壇いただきました皆様に今一度大きな拍手をお送りください。ありがとうございました。